Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar officially hands over chairmanship of CARICOM Community. The Ministry of Education honors top 22013 secondary entrance assessment students. And further calls for greater equality for women as International Women's Day observances continue. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar has officially handed over the chairmanship of CARICOM to St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. In her final speech as chair to her CARICOM peers, the Prime Minister reminded them of important issues that needed to be addressed and tackled as a united region.
As Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar passes on the CARICOM chairmanship to St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, she is reminding Caribbean leaders of important issues affecting the region. Speaking in St. Vincent for the 25th intersessional meeting of the heads of CARICOM, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar highlighted several areas for moving forward as a region, including economic development and securing regional borders. She notes that these two remained entwined in achieving investment and growth. As a result, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar reminded her peers to support the ratification of the Arms Trade Treaty, as well as Trinidad and Tobago's CARICOM endorsed bid to host the Secretariat in Port of Spain. To date, 116 states have signed the ATT, including all CARICOM members except Haiti. The former chair reiterated the need to eradicate crime and threats to the safety of the people of CARICOM, urging member states to prepare to participate once more with a unified approach in the negotiations that will ensue before and after the ATT comes into force. She also raised the issue of funding and sustainability for the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security Impacts, reminding member states of the benefits which included training opportunities in the areas of information and intelligence sharing, border security, cybersecurity, and ballistics. Meanwhile, coming on the heels of her visit to China, the Prime Minister gave her CARICOM partners an assurance that they too will benefit from the relations with the East. This including making air transport more affordable through interventions aimed at making the operations of Caribbean Airlines Air Jamaica profitable and sustainable. In her final words as chairman, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar also took the opportunity to underscore the push by the Reparations Committee to define and establish plans for the Caribbean region for former colonial European countries to compensate for native genocide, the transatlantic slave trade, and a racialized system of chattel slavery. She also reminded CARICOM members of the need to ensure persons living with disabilities are provided for at all levels of society. These were issues she spearheaded dialogue among members during her tenure. The 25th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, will end on Tuesday, 11th March. Kimberly Calloway, News 4.
In other news, in 1958, Christina Lewis and the Caribbean Women's National Assembly organized rallies and placard protests for maternity benefits, equal pay, and other democratic rights for women in Trinidad and Tobago. And it is with this that such occasions, such as International Women's Day, are held with much appreciation. Today, the women have been recognized for their contribution to society. The journey is still a very long one.
International Women's Day is celebrated on March 8 every year. On this occasion, much of the efforts and successes of women are highlighted and celebrated. But despite the long road to progress, much more needs to be done when it comes to formal changes. Speaking at the Networks of NGOs Women in Enterprise Conference, the Honorable Clifton Dikoto, Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development, listed some of the injustices faced by women the world over that he agrees must be changed.
Women also contend on a daily basis with institutional prejudices. We have all heard the issues of women being paid less than their male counterparts in the same position and field. In addition, while the glass ceiling has become a memory for some, for others it remains a real and present barrier to their progress even today. There are women who are overlooked for promotions even though they possess the required qualifications. Many women continue to report denials of paid maternity leave. In education, A very tragic irony exists on a global scale, where even as we see girls excelling and surpassing boys at all levels of the school system, there still exists a denial of the right to education for girls and women in some places.
The minister then noted that one cannot deny that progress has been made.
On the positive side, legislators have pushed forward, and today more girls can access education than even before. Also on the rise is the legislation that seeks to protect women and girls from abuse and any accompanying stigma. More women feel sufficiently empowered to speak out and share their stories. What this creates is the chances to lift the veil of secrecy and the silence induced by shame over being a victim of many social ills.
Minister Dikoto lauded the infiltration of women into the corporate world, though he said their presence is often scarcely recognized.
While the corporate world remains a challenging place for women to grow, today more female entrepreneurs are emerging as opposed to male entrepreneurs. Also in the business sector, women are referred to as examples of economic locomotives. They play a pivotal role in the food, agriculture, and manufacturing industries, to name a few. And this comes at a time when women are no longer forced to choose between having a professional career and being a wife or mother. These two was once thought to be mutually exclusive, but today, the working family woman is now seen as a valuable asset, as she is perceived to be particularly well-versed in the field of problem resolution. When all of these issues have been considered, progress should mean one thing for all of us, that our work has been successful, and our drive forward should be with even greater passion and determination.
During a later interview with Hazel Brown, coordinator at the networks of NGOs, she said the conference was part of a roadmap of support for women. The conference was held under the theme Equality Means Business. Felicia Wilson, More News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. The Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Finance Company Limited says it remains committed to providing affordable loans to first-time home owners. The financial institute revealed plans to ensure this before the Joint Select Committee meeting on Friday.
Loans accessible from the Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Finance Company Limited have been expanded to accommodate first-time home owners with lowered rates. The increase in the limit and changes in rates were disclosed during TTMF's accountability session before the Joint Select Committee meeting. CEO and Managing Director of the financial institution, Ingrid Lashley, says the TTMF received directive from the Ministry of Finance and the Economy for the increase in loan limit.
In respect of the 2% expansion of the 2% mortgage program, we received official approval of the expansion of the program on January 10th, 2014, and we have started a program of education to the public around the program. We've had inquiries, but thus far we have not had any full application. The limit has been increased from 450,000 to 625,000, and as I had indicated earlier, we have had some interest in persons coming in for pre-qualification for these facilities.
In recent years, the TTMF has been charged with the responsibility of mortgages for persons falling under the Land for the Landless program. Ms. Lashley explained how this works with the company. She added that this takes into consideration the cost of the property rather than the value.
Under the Land for the Landless arrangement, the initial allocation was 500 persons. All of them have been pre-qualified for a certain amount by TTMF. So we are now awaiting the allocations of the LSA, which they are pursuing vigorously, to come back to us for application of mortgage. In respect of the 2% mortgage program, we've had persons coming in for pre-qualification on the basis of which they will go out now and hunt for a prospective home. So that takes some time. Of course, as you would appreciate, buying property is always subject to clear title and these legal concerns, and that makes for a relatively tardy process in converting a pre-qualification to a mortgage. When it was restricted to HDC, THA, and Caroni lands, the costs were determined by government, and it provided for some equity in the property. For example, properties were sold at $250,000 but were valued at $425,000. And we took cost as equal to value in applying the program at the time. So we've gone back to the Ministry of Finance and Economy for permission to use cost rather than value in respect of, for example, the Caroni lands.
Ms. Lashley answered questions from Communications Minister Gerald Hadid regarding the company's profiteering from offering loans at lowered rates.
The 2% mortgage program is funded by the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. TTMF sources the funding itself, and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago compensates us by paying to us the cost of borrowing, less the return of 2%, plus an admin fee of 1.5%.
So in other words, it does not impact your bottom line. You do earn money by an administration fee.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The TTMF has acquired over $500 million in new mortgages since the beginning of its latest campaign. Kimbram Calawan, News 4.
Former Independent Senator Corinne Batiste McKnight, who died on Friday, March 7th, has been hailed by colleagues past and present as a great example of the Senate and ambassador par excellence. Her colleague and friend of many years, Independent Senator Helen Drayton, said Batiste McKnight, who had been ill for some time, died at her sister's home in St. James.
In immediate reactions, Independent Senator Elton Prescott SC paid glowing tribute to Corinne Batiste McKnight at the start of the Joint Select Committee meeting at Tower D Waterfront Centre, Port of Spain. He said she was always pointed and direct.
This morning it was reported that we lost my predecessor as chairman, former Senator Corinne Batiste McKnight, who had been ailing for a brief period. And I'm satisfied that all of the members here who have sat with her, and I'm sure I speak for my colleagues in the Senate, are mourning the loss of a senator whose contributions were always pointed and direct, and who gained the attention of the national public. So we regret her passing, and we trust that the good Lord would take care of her soul.
Former President Max Richards, who appointed her to the Senate, called her a tower of strength. In a tribute, he said, "Both my wife and I express condolences on this untimely passing. She has been a good friend of ours for many years, and she was a tower of strength in the Senate, where she served as an independent senator. She was of strong character, was far-sighted, and made an important and immense contribution to the national good." Senate President Timothy Hamel-Smith said, in her contribution in the Senate, she brought to bear her depth of experience both as a diplomat as well as in the public service. Her eye for detail was extraordinary, and you could rely on her to point to matters which escaped the attention of her colleagues. The Senate President further added, "I shared many happy moments with Corinne discussing matters of governance. She will certainly be missed." Batiste McKnight was a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, and the London School of Economics and Political Studies, LSE. She joined the Foreign Service in 1963 and served as ambassador to the United States of America, permanent representative to the Organization of American States, and ambassador to Mexico. Prior to entering retirement, Batiste McKnight served as permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. Batiste McKnight served on the National Commission for UNESCO, the Elections and Boundaries Commissions, and the Mediation Board. She was subsequently appointed to the Senate in 2007 as an independent senator of the 9th Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, though some criticized the appointment, stating her diplomatic postings under the PNM administration were inconsistent with the role. As an independent senator, Batiste McKnight served on the Public Accounts Committee. She also chaired one of the departmental joint select committees with oversight of government ministries, statutory authorities, and state enterprises. Between 2007 and 2013, she contributed to the debate on more than 50 bills and 15 motions. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
The secondary entrance assessment, the SEA examination, which is written by primary school students to decide which secondary school they attend, should be abolished. Now, this assertion comes from Minister of Education, Dr. the Honorable Tim Gopi Singh. Dr. Gopi Singh made the comment while delivering a feature address at the Ministry of Education's Secondary Entrance Assessment 2013 award ceremony on Sunday. It was held to honor the top 200 SEA students from the 17,000 who wrote the exam last year. Addressing the awardees and their families, the Education Minister says he is open to suggestions leading to the elimination of the exam. Dr. Gopi Singh says the trials and tribulations of the examination can be stressful on students and also cites the issue of placement of students as another problem. He, however, commends the children who currently sit the exam, applauding their hard work, preparation and sacrifice. Minister Gopi Singh is imploring those who have sat and still have to sit the SEA examinations, however, to focus not only on their schoolwork, but to also seek to develop emotionally, mentally, and psychologically through the partaking of extracurricular activities such as sport. Jumping right into sport, the Defence Force and Caledonia AIA will be representing Trinidad and Tobago at the Caribbean Football Union Club Championship, which begins in 10 days. Both teams featured in the TT Pro League action over the weekend, and their results were less than flattering. Wayne Cunningham was there, of course, for the Defence Force encounter, but first we have the highlights of another win for league leaders W Connection.
A minute's silence was observed in memory of fallen Trinidad and Tobago and Defence Force midfielder Kevon Carter, as match day 1 of round 3 was contested in the TT Pro League over the weekend. W Connection were favoured to keep their lead at the top of the points table when they faced bottom club St. Anne's Rangers on Saturday at the Atterbolden Stadium in Couva. W Connection were determined to get on the board early, and Gerald Brito should have obliged in the 3rd minute, but he seemed surprised by the centre from Shannon Winchester.
Number 43, Shamari Antoine. Number 44, Sedell McLean.
The Rangers fans thought they took the lead in the 10th minute, but Michael Yardako was offside. Expectation turned to dismay 7 minutes later when a poor kick by goalkeeper Akel Clark was punished.
That man not serious.
Goal! Winchester showing some fine skill to be the keeper after receiving a well-measured pass from Hashim Arcia. That 1-0 score held up to the half-time whistle. 10 minutes into the second period, it was 2-0. Once again, Winchester was the beneficiary of a neat pass, and he finished well on the second attempt. Following that, it was the Akel Clark show as he made some fine saves to keep the score respectable.
Boy, just kick the ball now, boy. Hard luck, stay. Control.
2-0 W is how this one ended. Action moved to the Larry Gomes Stadium on Sunday, with the Defence Force in their first match since the unfortunate passing of their influential midfielder. They faced the high-spending Central FC and got off to a perfect start when FIFA referee Cecile Hines spotted an infringement in the box and pointed to the penalty spot. Devon Jostling easily beat national teammate Jan Michael Williams to make it 1-0 in the 17th minute.
Opening goal for the Defence Force, scored by number 9, Devon Jostling.
7 minutes later, it was 2-0, following a well-orchestrated build-up by the military.
Defence Force.
What made 4-0?
It was jostling once again as he was picked out by Joan Baltazar. 2-0 score up to the halftime whistle. As the second half began, Central FC responded to cut the deficit in half. Marvin Oliver, Atula Guerra and Willis Plaza combining to split apart the Army defense and get the ball to Darren Mitchell, who finished well to make it 2-1. 7 minutes after that strike, the defense force created an opportunity to restore their 2-goal cushion, but Marvin Jones did not finish the job he started. They began to pay for that miss in the 72nd minute. Jason McCarno redirecting the shot from Mitchell to beat Sheldon Clark and tie up the scores at 2. The Couva Sharks will complete the comeback in added on time with another well-taken item from Atula Guerra. The military giving the talented midfielder too much room in the area, and he picks his spot to give his team the 3-2 come from behind win, which took them to second place on the standings, 8 points adrift of W Connection. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues right after the break. Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissassa is joining Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in recognizing Commonwealth Day 2014, which is celebrated on the second Monday of March every year. Mrs. Persad-Bissassa is echoing the sentiments issued by Queen Elizabeth in a media release in which she highlights that the Commonwealth may be diverse but shares a common purpose. The Commonwealth consists of a voluntary association of 53 countries which span the globe from Africa, Asia, the Americas, Europe, and the Pacific, and is home to a population size of 2.2 billion citizens. Her Majesty insists all Commonwealth countries make contributions, and while it may be from differing viewpoints, all members are committed to the same goals. She explains that this leads to, quote, the understanding that we belong together and are able through teamwork to achieve far more than we could do alone, which has always been at the heart of our approach, end quote. Mrs. Persad-Bissassa also believes the Commonwealth has achieved many successes because of the unity between its member states. Well, as we wrap up, Petrotrin Phase 2 Pangrove is already planning another win for the 2015 National Panorama Large Band Competition. The Steel Band expects to do this with the members' determination and the relationship the band has with its sponsor, Petrotrin.
In the wee hours of Sunday, March 2nd, the results of the National Panorama Large Band Finals were revealed at the Queen's Park Savannah, Port of Spain. This followed an intense competition that thrilled the thousands of spectators gathered to witness the prestigious event. With 287 points, Petrotrin Phase 2 Pangrove walked away with their 7th win in fine style, playing their tune of choice, Jump High. On Monday, the national oil company, Petrotrin, hosted a small luncheon to congratulate the sponsored Pan Band on their stellar win.
Everybody play a part, especially the sponsors too, you know. We make our sponsor proud and stuff, you know. I love Mr. Gillett and Mr. Arsenali. It's too good men, you know, who they are for us and we ask them and stuff. And even the minister and all, you know. So it's not just me alone, or, you know, the whole group, Petrotrin and the whole band, everything, the panel of us, Phase 2 people, you know, that really went together.
President of Petrotrin, Khalid Hassan Ali, expressed his pleasure at the band's win and said he had been there along the way, cheering on and encouraging the band.
At Petrotrin, we're extremely pleased once again. This is the second win in 2 consecutive years for one of our major sponsored bands, that is Phase 2. Petrotrin Phase 2. I have actually been to the Panyard, well, every year, but on this occasion I was there twice. You know, I wanted to be able to encourage the players, and I also admire what I refer to as genius at work. When I look at Bugsy, when I look at the players as well, when I look at how, you know, the preparations, it's very professional, and therefore the excellence that, you know, has been achieved by Phase 2 is the same sort of excellence that we would like to achieve as employees of Petrotrin, in delivering what we have to the nation and to the world, being an international company.
Petrotrin has been known for not only sponsoring steel bands, but other cultural groups and projects. However, as it relates to PAN, the company has an excellent relationship with a number of well-known bands.
Petrotrin sponsors fully 4 steel bands, including one in Tobago, and including, of course, Petrotrin Phase 2. And also we assist 14 other bands. So in total, Petrotrin has a good relationship in terms of sponsorship and assistance to 20 bands. Now, I don't know of any other company that has that kind of undertaking. Petrotrin, of course, is a national company, and therefore we see our corporate social responsibility very broadly and very nationally in Trinidad and in Tobago.
Petrotrin and Phase 2 will now sit down to discuss greater ways of improving their relationship while considering what further needs of the band can be met to ensure its continued success. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.